Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Wild Future event by the Wildlife Trusts. My name is Rob Gordon, and I'm the Learning Advisor for Equality, Diversity and Inclusion at the Royal Society of Wildlife Trusts. And we're here today to really share some great stories about people's careers, both people who currently work at the Wildlife Trust and beyond, to really highlight the sheer diversity and scope of the kind of roles that are available and how you can make your steps into a career in the environment and conservation sector. For those who don't know us, we are the Wildlife Trust. We are a federation of charities that is there to protect and support nature wherever you are, across the UK, in Alderney, and in the Isle of Man as well. So we're all over the place. With that in mind, I would really love everybody in the chat just to put where you're joining us from today, so you can all see within the chat the sheer breadth of where we are geographically and everyone who's joining us. One thing that I'd really like to sort of highlight today before we get started is there's no one true path into this sector. And over the course of today's session, you're going to understand and really highlight sort of, wow, there is so many different ways that people have joined this movement, have joined this sector and everything like that. And I think with that in mind, you know, one of the key things to bear in mind is there's not just roles available within the Wildlife Trust themselves. We've also got our fundraising teams, which are fantastic, like Southwest Wildlife Fundraising. We've also got our consultancies like Adonis Blue. There's all of these different roles available to you, all over the place, and we would love to have you involved. One of the reasons that we really wanted to run this session today was to highlight our commitment to our core values of equality, diversity and inclusion. We are all about, and we're really committed to creating these spaces where everybody can belong, where everyone can find a place where they belong in the workplace. And that's really why we're doing this today, is to be transparent and open about all of these different journeys that we have had and all of the different journeys that are available to you. But enough of my rattling on in this intro today. We've got a fantastic session ahead of us. To begin with, we just wanted to share a quick introductory video showcasing who are the Wildlife Trusts, what are we all about. So enjoy the video.
Our past shapes what we become. An ancient tree steeped in history. Everything it's seen has influenced how it's grown, how it has thrived. Times have changed, the challenge is greater. From humble beginnings, it now stands taller, bolder, wiser, protecting nature, restoring life. Our diversity makes us stronger. We are independent and rooted within our local communities. But when we come together, we become something powerful, something special, something unique. From babbling brooks and flowing streams, a mighty river grows, combining, connecting, and becoming one, creating powerful currents which flow together, shaping new paths and new ways forward. When we act together, we make an impact. Our roots travel far, and as they grow, they become stronger. Connecting and empowering, finding solutions to solve our planet's many challenges. Local action, collective impact, global change. Together, we are tackling the climate and nature crises. We are the Wildlife Trusts.
And welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that amazing video that describes who we are, our culture, our values. And during this meeting, you will see how much diverse we are, from the roles that we do to the skills that you'll be able to transfer if you do decide to join, and some of the amazing ways in which everybody decided to join the Wildlife Trust. I myself am a testimony of that, because I started off in not the most traditional way. I studied theology for masters and studied theology for BA. So as you may know, it's either I was going to maybe go into pastoral work or go into teaching role. But during my time at university, I fell in love with the idea of social justice, from learning about ableism, post-colonialism, the LGBTQ plus community, being able to learn about how social injustice has affected different communities in being able to access different things and the barriers that are stopping them. So I thought to myself, how am I going to go into EDI work? And if you want to hear more about that, you have to tune in and keep listening. But I'm going to go through some of the different job roles that you may or may not think existed, since it's about green jobs. Well, I've got good news for you, because even though I know somebody that's a beaver habitat restoration officer, I'm jealous. As an EDI officer, I am a bit jealous, because who wouldn't love to be in the wildlife with beavers, helping to restore and feeding them? I would love to do that, but fortunately, I'm an EDI officer. But we do have some different roles that you can transfer your skills, such as marketing and communications officer. So if you do have like a natural digital flair, social media survey, and enjoy writing, working with film and photography, this may be your job. As I said, transferable skills. Or events and operations officer. If you are passionate about playing part in demonstrating your key marketing skills and helping raise funds and nature recovery, that could be something that you're interested in as well. We also have visitor center and events officer, management accountant. If you finished your accountant degree or you have experience accountancy, this may be something for you. Or if you are looking for something a bit part-time, we have part-time ecological and consultant as well. Or if you love working with children, we have roles in Wilder as a Wilder Learning Officer as well, which is a fantastic role. If you love working with children, you love nature, and have an imaginative mind to inspire young children to love nature, this may be something for you. Or something that we do take pride on, which is our entry-level jobs. We have entry-level pitland reserves recovery officer. So if you've been wondering, how can I get into ecology, we do have entry-level jobs. When I started, I was in an entry-level job as well, and this is how far I've come now. So if you are looking for a job, and you are looking for something, you can visit our website on www.wildlifebcn.org/jobs. That's www.wildlifebcn.org/jobs.
Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Fred. One day wait, turns out that little boy is actually me. Anyway, hello everyone, my name is Fred, and I'm going to tell you a story about the Wildlife Trust and me. So, let's get this out of the way first. I have Asperger's syndrome. In a way, I often felt like I didn't fit in. I know it sounds cliche, but like a square peg in a round hole, basically. I often struggled to meet people too, so I often resorted to creating imaginary friends. Nonetheless, it's a part of who I am, and I feel that it's only made my passion for wildlife stronger. You see, since I was a kid, I've always had this passion for wildlife, pretty much to a point where, when I was in school, I'd rather be spending my playtimes out in nature than, well, I don't know, playing football with the other kids. My love of wildlife has only grown over the years. Fast forward to September 2022, when I started studying film at the University of South Wales in Cardiff. You see, partying and drinking never were my cup of tea, so I spent much of my free time visiting local parks and going in search of wildlife in the parks. Butte Park in particular has become one of my favourite places to go in Cardiff. As well as this, even as a fresher I was still creating imaginary friends, but still I longed for real friends. But then it hit me. I thought that because of my passion for wildlife, maybe I could look for a group of people who could support me and help me learn more about nature. So I went back home and started taking a look at all the societies that USW has to offer. Let's see, wild swimming? No, too cold. Custard rustling? Definitely not, didn't even know that was a thing. Belly dancing? Nope, let's not go there. I'm not even gonna draw it. And so, the search continues. One cold autumn day, after returning from a much-needed holiday to Budapest, I sat down at my computer once again and did a bit more searching. By chance, I stumbled across the Wildlife Trust for South and West Wales, who had a youth forum in my local area. I've been a member for just over a year and a half now as of this recording, and I wanted to share a little bit about my journey with the Wildlife Trust. When I first joined, I was really excited to get stuck in with the group. I didn't feel too nervous because it looked like a really friendly group to join. I was just really keen to learn more about the wildlife we have in Cardiff and across Wales. From the website, I could see that the group was called Stand for Nature. As someone who loves to draw, I really liked the logo and all the different animals on display. The badger in the centre was really striking, and it's one of my favourite animals. The group is made up of a broad range of young people from teenagers to young adults, and we do lots of different events. I've been involved in so much since I first joined, and there's really too much to talk about in one video. I'm going to tell you about some of my favourite events I've been a part of. One of them has to be the All Wales Youth Summit that happened in Roscommon, Anglesey last summer. A bunch of us from the Cardiff Forum got on a coach and travelled for 4 hours to Anglesey, where we met up with all the other Wildlife Trust youth forums from across Wales. I had been camping before, but never with this many friends and fellow Wildlife Trust members, so this was especially exciting for me. We spent a couple of days exploring the beautiful coastline with plenty of walks, guest speakers, and activities such as rock pooling. My highlight was walking up to the Coast Watchtower, where we did some sea watching, looking out for seabirds, dolphins, and seals. I got to see some seals basking on the rocks. I had seen seals at the zoo before, but never in the wild. It was great to see them in their natural habitat. I've been able to go on lots of trips through the Wildlife Trust, and my most recent trip was a visit to Manchester for the Hope is in Our Nature event. This event was live streamed across social media and aimed to inspire more hope and positivity. This was my first time ever being a representative for any sort of group, so I was a little nervous at first. However, It turned out to be an amazing experience. I got to spend a couple of days with other young people from across the Wildlife Trust movement, while also getting some time to explore the city, seeing what wildlife I could find. As expected, it was mostly pigeons, though I suppose there must be a fox or two hiding somewhere. My highlight from this trip was seeing the Save Our Taff campaign film broadcast for everyone to see. This was a film made by our Cardiff group, so it was really exciting to see it on the big screen at such a big event. Speaking of campaigning and big events, I've been a part of some very impactful events through the Youth Forum. Last year I went to the Senev, not once but twice. The first was another youth summit where we showed politicians what we've been up to and told them all about our Save Our Taff campaign. The second time, we spoke to our politicians about our youth manifesto. Ironically, when I was in school, I was too scared to speak in front of my class in the school hall. Fast forward to now, and here I am speaking at the Senev. It was really exciting to be inside the Senev building, and really inspiring to see so many people my age standing up for nature. Thanks to these events, I strongly feel that I've made a difference for nature. And so, Fred lived happily ever after with all his animal friends of every species. Wait, almost forgot. It's not that kind of story. Let's give it a proper conclusion. Throughout my time in the forum, not only have I seen some amazing places and incredible wildlife, but I've also grown in confidence. The group has been very welcoming and the people have been really friendly, so I quickly felt included. Having a group of people who really care about nature has made me feel like a part of something bigger. I feel like my voice has been heard and I've been able to make a real difference. So, for anyone like me who is neurodivergent and would like to get involved with this sort of thing, here's my personal advice. Don't worry about feeling isolated. I've been supported throughout my time in the forum, and there are lots of friendly faces looking out for you. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions, and don't be nervous. The Wildlife Trust is for everyone, whatever kind of peg you may be. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to the Wildlife Trust of South and West Wales. Without this sort of group, I would have struggled to find people who share my love for nature, and I've learned so much about different wildlife.
Now, that was a fantastic video from West Wales. He is a member, as you just saw, of the youth forum over there, and it's really great to hear someone talking about their experiences as a neurodivergent person and what that meant in terms of going through all those events and everything like that, and also the sense of community as well. I think is really important to bear in mind, and that's something that we really try to sort of develop at the Wildlife Trust as well, that sense of community for it all. And to kind of bring it to light, I'm chatting with Nafi again. Hello.
Hello.
We're going to go through a series of sort of just personal stories next for this, because one of the key things that sort of we want to get ahead of in this call is, it's not just about the jobs that are available, it's also about the journeys, the pathways that we've been on. And actually, the two of us have both been on some really interesting journeys in our careers to reach where we are now. And you hinted a little bit, Nafi, at sort of the journey that you took and how you studied something that wasn't necessarily conventional. Yes. But I think the other thing to bear in mind is sort of like, what interested you in the job here? Why did you decide to apply? What kind of thing led you into that prompt of like, no, the Wildlife Trust? So
yeah. As you may know, you've been in the EDI field as well. It's very difficult to get into EDI work. It's very, very difficult to get into EDI work. So I was searching, but I was looking at like person specifications and all those things. I was like, there's no way I can get into this if I'm being honest. I was like, I know this stuff, but like a lot of companies do focus on like the qualification side of it. So when I was looking at the jobs, I saw an internship going for EDI intern. And then I was like, oh, they're focusing on my skills. And these are the skills that I can transfer to. So of course I jumped on the gun. I was like, this is the job that I want, and this is the job that I'm going to get. So when I did get the job, I worked very hard with the support of Rob and Miriam, part of the ADI team. And yeah, that's kind of why. But the other reason why I wanted to was the values. The values are very much aligned with my values, and the fact that it was about, we want to progress you within your career. That's something that caught my eye as well, because a lot of companies, they don't really focus on that side of progression. So I was like, even if I'm here for a year, I was looking at the job, and I was like, okay, even if I finish in a year, I can move forward, and I can get another job in EDI work. So that's kind of what caught my attention. I was like, these people really care about upscaling me and building my skills. Yeah, but you come from a very different background. I think yours is as interesting as my theology background as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to whisper this because it might not be what people want to hear on a conservation and environment sector. I used to work in the financial sector before I joined the Wildlife Trusts. Very different world. I used to work in process design, but alongside that, I used to do a lot of well-being and EDI work and everything like that to help the colleagues around me. But it kind of reached a point for me where I just wanted to focus on the helping people side of things. I didn't want it just to be something that I tacked on. I wanted it to be an integral part of what I did every day. And so when I saw an opportunity to become a learning advisor for equality, diversity and inclusion, I leapt at the chance to apply. And much like you, I think, the fact that it focused on the skill sets of the job as opposed to you must, have XYZ qualifications, focusing on those lived experiences you have, but also the passion that you have for what you're going to bring to the table. And I think like that ethos is something that we've really been trying to develop, and hopefully something that everybody home can take away as well, is that that passion that you have, that potential that you have, is something that we're interested in. And that's something that really helped me decide this is where I want to be. And again, the values was a real driver. So it wasn't a conventional way into the conservation environment sector, I sometimes feel like a bit of an embarrassment when I can't name a bird species by bird song and things like that. That's not where my focus is. But the important thing is caring for the values that we have, caring for the mission that we have, the charitable objectives that every charity in the Federation has, and wanting to create that better world. And I think if you've got that mindset of we want to make things better, then that's what's really going to put you in a right position to come and be a really valued part of the family at the Wildlife Trust, I suppose.
Yeah. No, definitely I agree, because one of the things that you do realize if you do apply and get a job, is you start falling in love with things that you didn't think you'd fall in love with. I see myself going for a walk. I see myself taking pictures of birds and sending it to my family, something I never thought I would do. So we're not necessarily asking you to be the biggest nature lover, but we do ask that you do have a passion for nature. And even if you think, do I? Trust me, you work with some fantastic people that will make you fall in love, and then you get amazing opportunities as well. So is there anything else that you'd like to say to inspire anyone who is coming from the banking side, Rob?
Come join me if you're in banking. I think that would be great. More people moving over from that private sector into working for charities and NGO and those kind of roles. But they've heard enough from us. We've whittled on for too long. We've actually got some amazing guests coming with us today. And the first of these I want to introduce is Jake Forshaw, who's from North Wales Wildlife Trust, going to come and talk about their incredible journey into the sector, what that private sort of journey looks like and that development looks like. Nafi, I'll take it over to you to ask a few questions. Have a bit of a chat with Jake about all of this.
Hi, Jake.
No.
Yes, me and Jake work quite closely together. So just give us an introduction of who you are, Jake, and what's your role within your trust in North Wales.
All right. I'm Jake. I am EDI and Events Support Officer in North Wales Wildlife Trust. Personally, I'd say I am autistic, I am transgender, and I also have a history of fairly severe mental health problems. So I fill a lot of the boxes for EDI work, but I never intended to work in EDI. I never intended to work in conservation. None of those were things that I picked myself. I just happened to end up here. Do you want me to go on, or do you want to ask?
No, that's amazing, because we worked on a few projects together, and you're an amazing EDI officer. And I just wanted to ask about your journey. How did you get here?
It's very complicated and a bit convoluted. So I never wanted to go to college or university. I never wanted to do studying. The only thing I was interested in was science. But I wanted to do practical stuff. I wanted to be a bricklayer. I wanted to do archaeology. I wanted to be a mechanic, things like that. But there was always people telling me I couldn't do them for whatever reason. Like I was too weak to work on cars or whatever. And I believed them when they told me I couldn't do them. So I just gave up on things very easily. But I've had mental health problems probably since I was very young, at least since I was 11, realistically. So by the time I was choosing like where to go to university and things like that, I didn't have anywhere I wanted to go or a course I wanted to do. I picked marine biology because I liked the sea. My parents used to take me and my sister on holidays. We went surfing. We did loads of nature stuff. Nature was always nice. I never planned for it to be a job. But I just picked marine biology because I had to pick something, because they were telling us at the time, everyone has to go to university. You have to have a degree. You will never get a job without one. So I went. I picked North Wales because that university accepted me. My other options were in Scotland because I just wanted to go as far away as I could. But I didn't do well at university. I don't do amazingly independently still. I'm okay at it, but I'm not great. And their mental health support wasn't useful. The local NHS service essentially put me through conversion therapy rather than helped me. So I did very, very badly and dropped out of university, at which point I was just disabled on benefits. After burning through all my savings, I finally gave up on my own benefits. And I was looking for something to do. I needed to get out of the house. One of my friends, knowing that I was struggling so much, dragged me to the local LGBT youth group. I think I'd come out of trans a few months before he started dragging me to it. And he took me there because they were affiliated with a local mental health charity. So that's where I got my first counselling, was through them. I got my first proper support through them, and they were great. But I think it was like 2 or 3 years and they ran out of funding, at which point the person who'd been our facilitator for that group was moving to North Wales Wildlife Trust to work on their youth project. So he decided if we wanted to, as a group, as a collective, we could move our group to North Wales Wildlife Trust and keep working with him, keep meeting up. It wouldn't be the same, but it gave us a space still. And through that, I joined our local youth forum. As was referenced on Fred's video, we had a youth forum up here in North Wales, and I became part of that, again, accidentally. The person who was supposed to go to it dropped out, and I just happened to walk past the office that day, and he dragged me to it because I was free. So I joined the youth forum. I started doing things with them. I started getting out of the house. I came and volunteered doing admin at the Wildlife Trust office because it got me out of the house more and I was good at admin. It was boring, but I was good at it. And it didn't bore me as much as other people, probably because I like repetitive stuff quite a lot. So I did that for a few years. And then when the Stanford Nature project started, there was 7 hours worth of admin needed doing each week. And I got offered a job, which I think I was 29 at the time. And that was my first ever job because I'd gone straight through high school, college, university, mentally ill, could not do anything for years. And now I'm on 14 hours a week, still, admittedly, have depression, anxiety, and various other issues. But I have spent a long time having to advocate for myself, having to fight for the things I need. And that is the thing that I'm really quite good at this point, is fighting for what is necessary to try and get what people need. And nature is a big part of that, getting people's access to our local area, getting people who, for whatever reason, cannot come and join and be part of nature and get involved in conservation. I'm
Yeah.
really, really invested in that. And it was never the plan. I had no plan. I never expected to work ever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I always enjoy listening to your story because there have been so many barriers. There have been so many barriers, but I'm glad to see that you found a place that you belong, which is the Wildlife Trust. And I think a lot of people that may be listening that have a similar lived experience to you or a similar story to you, they can kind of see how nature and the Wildlife Trust has played a massive role within your journey as well. So I just want to say thank you so much, Jake, for sharing with us. That was an amazing story, and it just shows how diverse we are, doesn't it, Rob? It shows how we value diversity, how we are a place that welcomes everybody, and how we are a space that people can come and they feel like they belong. And now we are going to move forward to Mark, who is going to tell us his lived experience and his story about how he got involved within the wildlife or the nature reserve sector. Oh, hi, Mark.
Hi, Naptal. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah,
Hi.
so just the same questions, really. Just give us an introduction of who you are, what do you do for work?
Yeah, so I'm working for Derbyshire Wildlife Trust as a Wilder Connections Officer. That's very much an engagement role. So it's all about engaging with communities, children, adults, lots of different people from different walks of life. And the project itself, it's called the Wilder Chesterfield Project because it's about getting 5 neighbourhoods in Chesterfield to think about urban rewilding, bringing more nature into their backyards, into that space, and improve their well-being through that as well. So I guess for context, do you want to hear like my kind of journey into this career?
Of course, yes, please.
Yeah. So there's a lot of parallels with Jake actually. Jake's story was so inspiring. And I found myself sort of agreeing with what Jake went through. I didn't do so well at school. I was a really quiet, kind of odd one out sort of kid and never felt like I fit in. And I'd spend more time on my own or out playing in the woods than kind of feeling sociable. And when it came to choosing a career, I wasn't quite sure, but I felt like it should be something practical. It should be something to do with nature. So I wanted to go into like zoology, or I actually looked at paleontology as well. I know all kids love dinosaurs, but I really, really loved dinosaurs. And obviously I had to take my A levels to get into that. And I just didn't do so well. School wasn't a great experience for me. I was bullied. And I just didn't like school and I didn't get the right grades. So I left school, left sixth form with not much at all, and was pointed in the direction of an apprenticeship to be a librarian of all things, which kind of suited my character at the time because I was so quiet and meek. Not that all librarians are quiet and meek, as I soon discovered, because actually my colleagues were out there and they really got me out of my shell. And that first job lasted for about 7 years. It was in a college, and I really came out literally because I'm gay, and I came out during that time, and it really boosted my confidence. Working in a college at that age, with people who were the same age as me, actually, I was 19. It really changed my character, and I became a lot more confident. And it was during that time I discovered I could paint and sculpt. And I was 25. I started going to college and was persuaded to go and do a degree, which was an ideal time to do a degree for me. I felt like I was ready at that time instead of at the usual time. So I went to Bournemouth and I studied model making for special effects and architecture. I loved it. I ended up working a little bit in the sector. I worked in the special effects industry. I lived in Sydney for a little while and worked in architectural companies doing buildings. But there was always something missing. I always felt like it wasn't quite me. And what I ended up doing shortly after that was teaching. I discovered I could teach. I did a qualification in teaching English. I was about 30 when I did that. So I didn't go into special effects at all. I just went on a totally different tangent, started teaching English, mostly to adults. I did it because I wanted to travel, and I ended up working in Taiwan and Vietnam. I taught English in Sydney as well, and I loved it. And I taught English for about 10 years. And even during all of that, even though I loved that job, because I just really enjoyed helping people in that way. I still felt like, there was something else missing. And it was always about working outdoors for me and doing something to do with nature. I guess going full circle and going back to how I felt as a teenager and wanting to work in nature. And I thought, well, that's not going to happen because all of the jobs I was looking at, it was that you need a degree in ecology or you need chainsaw skills or practical skills. So I kind of wrote it off. And then it was around 2018, 2019, I discovered a wildlife group close to the place that I was teaching English, and I started volunteering. And I realized I loved that too. So I did the two things. I would still teach English, but I also, one day a week, I volunteered and I do things like wildflower surveys or dry stone walling, all sorts of nature-based outdoor countryside stuff. And then I discovered that the Wildlife Trusts did traineeships. And these traineeships, they'd be 9 months long, 12 months long, or even 18 months long. And you could gain all of those skills doing a traineeship. The way onto those traineeships was having proven experience of volunteering in that sector. So I'd already got that little bit of a head start. And I kept applying for these traineeships. And it took me to the fourth attempt. The fourth attempt, I actually was accepted onto a traineeship. It was with Sussex Wildlife Trust. And during that, I got training in like how to use a chainsaw, brush cutter work, even lambing. I was out in farms delivering lambs. I also did engagement and I became a qualified forest school instructor. And that's where the transferable skills start to come in. I'd got all of that 10-year experience of being a teacher and the creative experience of working in special effects and architecture that actually they helped me to get the traineeship. They wanted somebody who was coming from a very different background and bringing very different skills. So I guess I wanted to come and speak here tonight because I want to tell people that, it doesn't matter where you've come from or what kind of career you've done up to this point. The Wildlife Trusts needs those diverse skills or needs that life experience. And yeah, it's still worth trying to apply.
Yes, no. Thank you so much, Mark. And I think one of the key things that I recognized is it's never too late to do what you love. And I know there's a lot of people that are maybe on two minds about whether should I apply for this job because I love this job or should I stay? Yeah. Just like you were saying, just follow your dreams, follow what you want to do. But yeah, thank you so much, Mark. Welcome. That was very inspiring. And I hope the young people and everybody else that's listening can take some inspiration from some of your work as well. And now we'll move over to to Rob, who's going to introduce us to our next panelist.
Yeah, thank you. We've got some people in the room with us today, which is brilliant. So I'm joined here by Jill. Really pleased to have you here, and thank you so much for joining us here. I think, it's kind of a similar thing. What's your career journey? So, who are you? What do you do? And how did you get to where you are? So there you go.
Sure. So my name's Jill. I am currently a warden for a nature reserve. I work for Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust. But that wasn't, it's a relatively new, I'm a career changer. I've only been doing that for, I've had this job since April, I think, so relatively new. Like many of the stories we've heard, I had a different career for many years. I had a very much a corporate career. I also worked a little bit in the financial sector, but also a number of other sectors. I did a lot in internet and digital for a lot of my career, and a lot in project management and program management also for a lot of my career. At the same time, I was spending all my holidays, volunteering on conservation programs and supporting environmental causes, and was very passionate about that side of things. But looking at people who did it for a living, going like, wow, that looks amazing, but it just didn't seem available to I had a career path I was on. And then it took until just a couple of years ago when I made the decision to leave the corporate world. It was definitely time to put that behind me, and I just was amazing coincidence. I found out about these things called apprenticeships and traineeships and residential volunteering that were ways to get into conservation and environment work. So after a bit of intensive application period, I was successful in getting a residential volunteering placement with the Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust, and I was with them for nearly a year across 2 of their reserves. Then I was next successful in getting a traineeship, which was like the next level on in terms of skills building with Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust. And both of those opportunities were just absolutely amazing in terms of getting on the ground experience. And then finally in April of this year, I applied for and was lucky to get the role I am now, which is Deputy Warden for a nature reserve. Yeah.
Amazing. And you've been an incredible asset to the Wildlife Trusts as a movement since you joined. And I think, one of the really useful things is to think about the fresh perspectives that people from outside the sector can maybe bring in. And, all of the different life experience that we have is really key. And, just wanted to ask you to round out before we move on to the next bit of today. How are you finding it? Are you enjoying it? Are you finding it rewarding? What have you felt about it?
No, I'm absolutely loving it. I'm so happy I've made the change. It was a big, 2-year commitment to kind of make that leap and change. And that was kind of the deadline I set myself, to see if we could do it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's worked out amazingly. And I'm really in the place I want to be now. Yeah, applying all those skills. Yeah.
Amazing. That's brilliant. And thank you for sharing all of that. And hopefully it will be a really, good sign for all of you at home that there's always an opportunity to shift and change when you feel like what your priorities are different as well. So up next, we've got another person in the room with us. Nafi, I'll hand over to you to introduce our next guest.
Yes. Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you, Jill, as well. That was inspiring as well. Thank you. Yeah, so with me, I have Sasha, who took part in one of our youth programs that we do offer, which is ELP, which is Environmental Leadership Program. Yes, got that right. I'm very bad at the acronyms or whatever they're called. But yeah, just give us a little story about yourself. So maybe just a quick introduction of what ELP is.
Yeah, of course. The Environmental Leadership Program is a course offered by the Wildlife Trust that I engaged in. I was previously a primary school teacher, and alongside being a primary school teacher, I did some volunteering. I worked for some sustainable charities where I live, but I kind of wanted a route towards more environmental work. And whilst I tried to engage children in the environment a lot in my workplace, there was kind of only so much I could do as a primary school teacher. Hence, trying to follow the national curriculum, you can't diverge too much. But so the Environmental Leadership Program was a great chance for me to engage in more sustainable work and to give me advice and guidance as to how I could kind of diverge or move towards sustainable or environment work. I didn't really join it with the intention of leaving teaching. That wasn't kind of my master plan all along. But But it was a great chance for me not only to meet people who were already involved in the environment and meet those who worked in the Wildlife Trust, but also to just get an idea of the careers out there. I'm sure a lot of young people watching themselves might feel the same, that I found it quite challenging just to find jobs a lot of the time, or find work that might link with my passions, or at least something that I thought, can I even get into this? Do I have the right knowledge for this? And I think the environmental leadership program gave me that confidence to realize, you know what, I actually have a lot of these skills already, and I can move in that direction. So I ended up leaving teaching once I finished the environmental leadership program. I kind of finished that year of being a teacher, and then now I work for Living Streets, which is a charity that are passionate about getting people walking. They make lots of changes and constantly fight for getting people of all generations choosing walking as the everyday option, which I absolutely love. I'm a project coordinator and focus on working with schools. So it's kind of the perfect mix of an involvement in sustainability in the environment and getting children and adults interested, but also I still get to go into schools and do that part of my job that I loved, really. So yeah, I think it kind of gave me that boost to just realize that you do have those skills and the assets to go towards a role that you're interested in, and it might not always be the most academic route that you think. I did fine art at university. I wasn't planning on going towards the role that I'm in. I've actually gone on to do an engineering course and complete like backflip in the ways that I've done everything. But yeah, I think it really revealed that you don't need this perfect tick list of things, and just allowed me to realize I could step out of the box, really.
Yes. That's amazing, because I think, like everyone else's stories, you collected quite a lot of skills during your time. And just a quick question about like EOP2. What would you say like were some of your like favorite courses or some of your favorite subjects that got you to fall in love with more working with nature?
Yeah, I think the environmental leadership program in itself was really broad. Some of the sessions that we had were focused on, I'm pretty sure one of our sessions we did conker fighting, which that was like, turns out it's incredibly difficult and I'm terrible at it, but it was great fun. And then, identifying plants and things, and like Rob said, you don't have to be an expert at it, but it was fascinating finding out about it. But then on the other end of the scale, we were looking at campaigns and how, if you have a passion or something that you want to change, how you go about starting that. Yeah. And that, I think, for me was the most interesting part. And I think it's led my passions now at Living Streets. They do a lot of campaigning for safer streets and more accessible streets for all. And so I think my knowledge from the environmental leadership program has really helped foster that kind of attitude that you can make a change if you want to make a difference. But I think the course in itself was also like the people that I met along the way, which I'm sure everyone will say, it's not just the things you learn, but the people you meet. But I've made so many relationships with people in such amazing, wildly different fields, and people that I still continue to see today. And it's allowed me, even in my role now at Living Streets, we've recently worked with the Wildlife Trust in a project that I had in one of my school areas, so it was nice to kind of make that link again. But yeah, I guess I haven't really identified an exact thing. I think the whole course in itself was superb and really excellent for me.
I think that says a lot, to be honest. If you can't choose one specific thing, that says a lot. Just one last one. Just a quick wise words to like some of the young people that are thinking about taking that step into like a green job, or they have those skills that they want to do. What quick wise words would you say?
I think quick wise words are, don't think that you don't have the skill set, or that you need to have a specific career route, that you don't feel like you have to have gone to university or anything, and instead realize that if you have the passion for something, you can get there, and you don't need this perfect tick list. You have got all the skills as long as you've got the motivation to do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sasha. As all of you have listened to these amazing stories from these amazing people that have shown different life stories, different skills, but somehow we all ended up in the same place, and we all ended up doing something that we really, really love. So on the next one, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the T levels that we have. So these are vocational qualifications available in a number of subjects that require students to complete an industry placement. During the last year, the Wildlife Trust hosted a small number of business and digital T-level students in different office-based teams. Our goal was to learn how we could create more accessible opportunities that include people with all sorts of skills, even if they haven't thought about a career in our sector before. So in this next video, you'll hear from our student Kyian about his experience with us.
The Wildlife Trusts are a federation of 46 wildlife trusts supported by a central charity working across the UK, Alderney and the Isle of Man to bring nature back, to enable people, everyone, everywhere to take action for nature and to create an inclusive society where nature matters.
My name's Kyian Banner. I'm currently at Lincoln College studying a T-level course, Management and Administration Level 3. I'm doing my placement for that here at the Wildlife Trust.
We have more than 3,600 staff working in a variety of roles across the UK. So while you might have thought that working for a wildlife trust means being a nature expert or outdoors, we actually have a lot of office-based teams. Much like any business, we have HR, we have IT, we have communications and marketing and much more. And all of these are fundamental to us achieving our goals.
I was rather keen, and I have been for the last couple of years, on going to the football university, and that focuses on lots of different varieties of sports and football in general, and I want to go into doing football business, whether that be managing or maybe even owning a football team one day.
I think it's really important from our perspective to get young people into the trust to give us a different perspective. Certainly a lot of young people are very concerned about the environment and the climate crisis at the moment. So we're certainly open to bringing new people in to give us their thoughts on how we could do things differently, challenge our beliefs a little bit.
There's so many different job roles and there's so many different areas of work, especially here at the Wildlife Trust, that you can actually be a part of. It's definitely opened my eyes to all the possibilities that there are in work, not just what I had my mind set on as football business, but how many different things I can actually do.
We've had lots of great examples of people progressing from traineeships into further roles with wildlife trusts and sometimes progressing even into quite senior positions in the organisation. So that can happen, but ultimately the purpose of these placements is to ensure you have the skills for a future career wherever it may take you.
One of the most exciting parts has been that I've got my own project now to get on with, and that's been really fun to say that I own the project almost and I run it. I've never really been a confident person, and I feel like I'm going to come out of it knowing that I've been able to lead and run my own thing, which should really help me in the future. If another student came up to me, like another T-level student came up to me and asked me should they go for this opportunity to do a T-level placement at the Wildlife Trust, it'd be a firm yes. The way that they've helped me to go through being in a new environment and doing things I'd never done before, I think it's absolutely must go for opportunity.
Fantastic, and I had an opportunity to chat with a few of the people doing the T-level placements, and it was a really amazing seeing that development over time, actually. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where that goes next too. Next, we've got another brilliant guest. So we're going to be joined by Marianne West next, who works over at Derbyshire Wildlife Trust as their Equalities and Emerging Talent Lead. It's always great to hear from Derbyshire because they do so many fantastic things in that space when it comes to developing people's skills, really building careers, but also stuff like incredible well-being work as well. So I'm really delighted to be joined by Marianne. Marianne, hello there. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks so much, Rob, for the introduction, and it's really great to have the opportunity to talk to everyone today. So as Rob said, my role is Equity and Emerging Talent Lead, and it essentially has kind of two overarching goals. One is to create opportunities, break down barriers, and open up access to work in the environmental sector, but also delivering on emerging talent. So I open up and create opportunities with the team at Derbyshire Wildlife Trust for work experience opportunities, internships, traineeships to really help build the skills that the environment sector really needs. So that's just a little bit about me. I've spent the last 10 years in talent management, focusing on hiring, talent development and inclusion. So I really wanted to have the opportunity today, having sat on the other side of the desk, to prepare you for the job market, whether you're coming into it for the very first time or you're looking for new career opportunities to explore. So these are really broad and a bit of a whistle-stop tour, gives you a broad view of what to do that's helpful, and what employers really are looking for when they're looking for candidates to join their workplace. So the first thing, you can't really get away from it these days, is building a digital presence. LinkedIn is really a prime location where you can get your CV out there. If you're thinking about looking for apprenticeship opportunities, internships, that's where a lot of organizations will go to look for profiles, and other places like Indeed. But as we're building our CVs, and what our profile looks like, LinkedIn really is a prime location to get out there. It's a really great tool to network online as well. So sharing insights, comment on posts, share any achievements or any projects that you're working on. So building your LinkedIn profile here as your CV is really key. It's really helpful to clean up your social media. Think about what social media says about you and review your privacy settings. Many organizations, larger organizations, will tend to do a broad search as part of their background checks. So have a think about what's visible to others, just generally, and also, critically as part of the job market. And the last bit on that is build your portfolio. You've heard from some amazing speakers today, their route into their roles today is also varied, but it doesn't always have to come from a job. And for anyone who's going out in the job market for the very first time, it really doesn't matter that you don't have formal experience to showcase. What employers are really looking for is how you can apply the skills and behaviors that you've learned through meaningful activities in your life. So whether you've done some volunteering, whether you've led an initiative at your school, or you're playing sports at a high level in your school area, behaviors like reliability, consistency, determination, and leadership skills are key qualities for any organization. So I'd really encourage you to think about that, rather than thinking about, I've not been in the work environment. There will be plenty of opportunities to showcase other behaviors and skill sets. The second piece of advice is tailor your applications. It's really important that, really what employers want to know with this is that you understand the role and also understand their company and how you're going to contribute to their mission through the skills and behaviors that you have. So some key tips here: your CV should highlight relevant skills and experience that matches what they're asking for. Don't be put off, however, if you don't match all of the criteria. As skills can be taught and developed, it's helpful to mirror the language that's used in the job description. And many, as you've heard earlier, many organizations across Wildlife Trusts will look for transferable skills and behaviors. So it would really encourage applicants from all different types of backgrounds, and different experiences. When writing your cover letter, research the company. That's really key. Showcase that you understand what they do and what it is that they're trying to achieve, and highlight the skills and behaviors and values that align with the organization. Showcasing that impact here is really key. And keywords. So I say this because many employers, so especially if they're a larger organization, they'll use an applicant tracking system to help recruitment teams to identify candidates quickly. So mirroring some of the language that they're using in the job description could be helpful to help you stand out. Okay, so gaining experience and transferable skills. As I mentioned earlier, experience doesn't always come from a job. There are some of the things that you can talk about to highlight your capabilities and interest in the field. As everyone in the that I've mentioned earlier, volunteering is a really great way to show initiative that also builds transferable skills. There are many volunteering opportunities with Wildlife Trusts, and start with your local area to see what's available. When I did my degree in psychology, that's how I kind of started out in where I've ended up today. I thought that I wanted to be a clinical psychologist or forensic psychologist. So I did some volunteering whilst I was at university. So I worked for a probation office, and I was a volunteer mentor for young people who had neurodivergent skill sets. So, you know, these are the things that you can pick up alongside your studies. That's a really great way to get yourself out there. If you can find paid internships, that's fantastic. Otherwise, you know, unfortunately, not many organizations are offering this. And this is one of the things that we're doing across Wildlife Trusts, is to provide paid internships to help increase access. It will hold you in good stead to showcase that you've gone through the experience of being in the workplace. And I'm a massive advocate for apprenticeships. Having gone through the degree system myself and end up with loads of debt, the apprenticeship is a really great way to earn while you learn. And within my own profession, there are CIPD apprenticeships now that helps young people get into a HR and people career. So I'd really urge, you know, if that's what you're interested in, that lots of organizations offer this as an opportunity. Here at the at DWT, but also our Wildlife Trusts have got lots of apprenticeship opportunities, and you've heard from some of the people already that that's the route that they've come into. So yeah, so take a look. And the last thing is any extracurricular activities or side projects that you can do that bring about transferable skills, whether that's you might create content for your own personal brand, or a project at school or a local club, running your local community groups. These are all the skills to help you build your brand and your portfolio. Now, the next thing is, once you've built, you've been shortlisted or offered the interview, interview preparation is going to be really key. And here's some quick tips to help you get started to prepare for that. A really great way to answer interview questions is to learn the STAR framework for answering questions. And a question could be something like, tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult situation. So S is for situation. What was the situation that they're asking about? You could say something like, in my role working as a waiter or barista, we had a situation where the wrong order was taken for a customer, which meant that they couldn't have what they asked. And when they asked for something else, we ran out, you know, all the things that had gone wrong for that particular customer. So there weren't loads of options or things like that, for example, on the menu. T is for task. So your task then was to understand what went wrong in that situation and how you can rectify the situation. A is for action. What did you do? So an example for that scenario could be that you first apologized and then you took the actions to rectify it. But first you understood the customer's requirements and then went on to speak to the kitchen team to understand what they could do, given that the team had also made a mistake. You were then able to secure them free drinks and free desserts. So think about kind of that's a really good framework to help you prepare an answer and just helps build your confidence in interviewing. And lastly, R is for result. What was the outcome based on your actions? You could say the result was that you ended up with a happy customer, and despite there being a mistake, because you communicated clearly and were able to solve the problem, it was a good customer satisfaction in the end. Make sure that you research the organization. The employer wants to know that you're motivated to join their company and that you have an interest in the role. Preparing questions shows that you're engaged and that you want to understand more. And dress code, I've not been prescriptive here, just because I think it really depends on the role and what the interview requires. And also the culture of the organization that you're applying to too. Some interviews may ask you to complete a task. So in that case, you'll need to dress appropriately for safety reasons. So one of the trainees that we've hired this year, we had a task which meant that they had to use some tools and to demonstrate that they can use it safely. And so, they had to be wearing like shoes that were appropriate, trousers, have like their hair tied up, and all those kind of things. So if you are unsure, what I would recommend is I check with the employer and go from there. And then lastly, practice, practice, practice. This really helps you to lay out your story and your experience so that you can have a confident conversation in your interview. So that's going to be really key. Now, last thing for me, last tip, if you're in the job market already, you will probably feel that it's quite tough out there at the moment, which can be a barrier in itself. So I would say my last tip with this is be kind, look after yourself if you're going through this process. There's really some key points that hopefully will help you in this journey. Rejection is normal. So Mark, you've applied 4 times to a previous role. Each rejection will eventually get you closer to where you want to be. So keep showing up and don't take it personally. There are factors in any recruitment process that you won't be able to control. But if you are able to get feedback, use that as an opportunity to develop and reset. Each process is progress, so every application and interview is practice. Again, ask for feedback if you can. The more you can get feedback, the more you can develop and go again. Quality over quantity, so focus on roles you genuinely want. And I'd add though, for those starting out, a role may not tick all of your boxes, but if it helps you get closer to where you want to be, it's really valuable experience for you to have. A couple more points. So know your value and believe in what you offer. Everyone brings value that the workplace needs. Massive advocate for diversity and inclusion. So share what makes you tick, what you're passionate about, and what you're interested in. And the last thing is keep going. Consistency is key. And if you're unsure which direction to go, take the time to focus on yourself, whether that's time with your family, whether that's exercising, whether it's a podcast you particularly enjoy. Take the time to reset and go again. So that's some tips from me. But before I leave today, what I really wanted to do is just share some opportunities that are coming up with DWT that I hope may be of interest. and that you may come back and just look at us regularly to see what we've got going on. So next year, what I'm really pleased to share is that we've got 30 places available for year 10 to 13 work experience opportunities for May 2026 and June 2026. This essentially, it's 1 week for year 10 to 13 students, and it really gives students the opportunity to experience real projects, what we're doing to enhance wildlife and restore habitats, and exploring nature reserves and the projects that we're working on. It's not live yet, but we're looking to go live in this over the next couple of weeks. So if you are interested, please follow us on Instagram at Derbyshire Wildlife Trust. We'll go on to our LinkedIn page, and we'll be launching and sharing that on our social media pages. The other thing I'd love to highlight is the Lead Wilder governance program. Lead Wilder is a governance program that's designed to empower people with the skills, confidence, and connections needed to become impactful trustees within wildlife charities and in the wider environmental sector. So this is anyone who's looking for new opportunities to get into the environment sector and want to learn some governance, leadership, skills. We're offering this as a voluntary opportunity for a minimum of 12 months and up to 24 months voluntary program. I've added the QR code there that will take you straight to the expression of interest form. So if you are interested, please do share your profile with us and one of the team will be in touch with you. No, thank you very much. That's all from me.
Thank you so much, Marianne. It's really great to get all of those really handy tips and also, highlighting those brilliant opportunities you've got available. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today. We have got about 10 minutes to have a sort of Q&A session. So we've had some brilliant questions coming in the chat. Unfortunately, we won't have time to get through to everybody, but they have all been read. Don't worry, we've got them all on record there, which is fantastic. But we wanted to go through a few of them live here today, and we've still got all of our brilliant guests available to pick up on anything that you'd specifically want to ask them. So let's get going through some of these questions that we've had in. And the first one that we just wanted to pick up on here is that someone's training to be a chartered rural surveyor, but they've always wanted to work in the conservation or environment sector. They're undergraduate degrees in zoology and have some experience of conducting ecological surveys. Their employer is funding their master's, so they can't leave at that moment in time, but they're wondering about what opportunities are available where someone could pursue something alongside full-time work and study, but also if people do have people moving sectors. And I think one of the core things here to sort of highlight is there are opportunities available. We've got things like volunteering opportunities, there's placements, there's traineeships, so you may well be able to do those kind of things alongside it. You could also see if there might be something really helpful for your passion in terms of becoming a trustee at your local wildlife trust as well, and looking at what opportunities are available there. So even if that sort of direct employment isn't immediately available to you, there are all of these ways that you can still get involved and help build those connections and help build that development there. So hopefully that can help with that. And it kind of ties in a little bit to the next question, where someone's done volunteering for the wildlife trusts. They've had animal and wildlife related jobs. They struggle to make their CV stand out. What more could I do? And hopefully the presentation that we've just seen from Marianne has really helped highlight some of those ways in which you can make it stand out. And I think one thing that I would really recommend for me is sort of having a look at the organisation that you're applying to, seeing what their values are, seeing what they've got publicised, what is the kind of things that they're highlighting, and sort of take it from there, make sure that you're doing something bespoke for that organisation. I don't know if anybody else in the room has anything to add on that. What kind of things you think might be useful?
No. I just wanted to echo that, Rob, that John just said, like a general CV to every single person. Like look at that the job that you're looking for. make your CV cater to that specific job. Look at the skills that they're looking for. Because I think a lot of people can see that this is just like a general CV that's sent to every organization, but literally spend time looking at the skills that they're looking for that specific job, the values that the company has, as Miriam was saying, and I think your CV will stick out more because people can tell whether the effort that you've put into that CV as well. I don't know if maybe Sasha or Jill would want to add to that as well.
Yeah, I think when you're trying to connect to the job-specific requirements, I think try and say it in as simple way as possible. When I've supported recruiting in my current role, I'll be honest, there are usually tons of applicants in the same ways why sometimes you might find yourself turned away. It's not necessarily because you weren't capable, but there are loads of applicants. And I think just being confident and really quite clearly saying how you meet the job requirements saves the recruiter so much time, and they are so much more likely to kind of look through yours. As soon as they see those keywords that they're looking for, you're like on the good list. But even if you are outstanding and you've got so much experience, I think if it becomes a long reel of all of these things, I'll be honest, those sort of applicants I'd usually kind of move aside because I don't have the time to read them in great detail. So yeah, try and be as succinct as possible in the kindest way.
Brilliant, thanks. Jill, I don't know if you've got anything you'd like to share as well on that.
Yeah, well, I think I can say basically pretty much what everybody said. It's the other thing, I think we haven't talked about cover letters and those kind of things, but they're an opportunity to really get your point across. And as Sasha and the others have said, if they've asked for something specific in the job description, then that opportunity in the cover letter to just pull out that sentence and say how you specifically meet that criteria is ideal. And we've talked a little about like it is a tough process. You know, I can't tell you how many applications I went through to get my first placement, and the ability to keep persisting, because you will get there eventually if you're keen, and ask for feedback whenever you can, if you get the opportunity. I was lucky enough in one of the first kind of, I applied and got through to interview but didn't end up getting the role, and they were so kind in the feedback they gave me in terms of how I might be able to get that little bit of experience that I'd been missing, and it really made all the difference, because the next one I got to interview, I got the offer. So I think that might be helpful as well.
Fantastic, yeah, and I think that's really key, is what kind of feedback do you get if you haven't passed through all of the process, to be able to make it stronger and better the next time, I think is really important. We've got another question in here. Are there a range of job roles available for new graduates, and is a driving licence necessary for a lot of the job roles? And here I think, yeah, we absolutely do have a range of roles available for different graduates, depending on what your passion is, depending on what your expertise is. Keep an eye out for things. Or if you don't know, I think one of the useful things to bear in mind is what kind of general roles are there, where it's maybe a little bit more vague. And that's the kind of thing where the trust may well be having that open space for people who have bags of potential and bags of passion to then find their route through their career at the trust and beyond as well. So actually, that's one of those things where even if you're not entirely sure, if you don't have that precision point accuracy of where you want to be, there are still going to be roles available for you. As to the second point around whether you need a driver's license, it's very much dependent on the role. So, it's worth reading through what the job is, what the criteria are. There won't be just a generic ask for you need to have a driver's license. It will be down to whether the job requires it. So it may well be that it's a really rural location it's based in where there's not really a feasible way to get there, or maybe the role requires you to drive cars or drive vans to get around, in which case it will be required. But if it's, not a role that requires those kind of things, absolutely you won't need one. So, I don't drive, for instance, and it's never stopped me from being able to do my job. And I travel around to all the different wildlife trusts and work with them on inclusion and diversity work. So that's something to bear in mind. There's all of those opportunities as well. We've got one more question here to run through as well. We'll get through as many of these as we can before the time runs out. I did a degree in liberal arts and natural sciences, which I majored in biology. I graduated in summer 2024, but I've since decided I want to pursue a career in ecology. I'm considering doing a master's degree in ecology to give me more solid background in the area and increase my chances of getting a job. However, some people have said that focusing on getting practical volunteering experience would be more useful. What would be your advice? And that's a nice meaty question. What I would say here personally is have a think about what kind of role you want. If it's something where, you know, we've done a lot of work at the Wildlife Trusts to say we're not going to ask for a qualification unless it is necessary. So those default roles, we're not going to be saying you need to have a degree for, you don't need a master's in. So have a think about, what are you doing that master's for? Are you doing it for a specific role that you want to get? In which case, have a look and see if the general requirement for those kind of positions is. Otherwise, it may well be worth spending your time, you know, if you've got the capability to volunteer, to spend that time volunteering instead, or, you know, maybe again, looking at some of those alternative routes that aren't volunteering, but also getting to know and getting some of that practical experience as well. That might be something that's a little bit better. So yeah, it really comes down to the role. So have a little bit more of a focus on what the role is you're looking at, the specific sort of area you're looking at, and then you can take it from there. I don't know if anyone else has anything they'd like to add on that.
Yeah, maybe. Just if there's a specific job that you're interested in which case why you might be looking towards doing that form of further education, maybe just don't be shy to ask the company or whoever you're intending on working with, like, what they are looking for. You know, directly email them if you want. Say, I have a great interest in your role, I'm really looking towards taking this career path, and simply ask them, you know, do you think this would be helpful towards this role? And in many cases, I'm not going to say you're gonna get a reply all the time. Companies vary in their busyness, but a lot of the time I found when I've done that for jobs I'm interested in, I've got a wealth of information back, and that's, you know, guided me towards doing something that would be supportive for the role. Because I think there's a 50-50 chance that sometimes doing that form of education you're looking towards could be helpful, but other times I don't think you need it. Like I said earlier, it's, you know, you don't need this huge tick list of exact things to get you the role.
Fantastic, and thank you very much for that. We've got another question here. I'm looking to change career later in life, but with financial commitments, I think it would be difficult to justify coming in at an entry-level role or to do volunteering. Any tips for me? And I know that, you know, volunteering isn't always available to everybody, and I think that's something that we've really tried to take on board with the way that we've been shifting the development of careers and onboarding and everything, is recognising, especially when it comes to an equality perspective, not everybody has that capability because of financial commitments, because of caring responsibilities. Anything like that can really put a restriction on someone doing XYZ hours of volunteering. So having a look for those paid placement positions, I think, is really important if you're wanting to do that route in, but also then thinking about, what could we potentially do from an entry-level position? Jill, I don't know if it would be useful to come to you because you've had that experience of shifting into a new career. Have you got any sort of advice you might be able to give in this area?
I'll try. Yeah, it is a big commitment. I did a lot of long, hard thinking, making that change and budgeting and all that kind of financial stuff. I think some of the ways that helped me make that transition was, again, I was lucky enough to get residential volunteering. So that supported me in some way in terms of my accommodation was provided for. I was able to earn a little bit. I had a part-time job at the same time to be able to keep some income coming in. The traineeship, again, wasn't a hugely paying one, but had some residential accommodation and all that came with it. So looking for those sorts of opportunities were what made it possible for me to make that change. And then, having to say it in the nicest possible way, adjust how I was, the trade-off between, yes, what I was doing before, I might have earned a little bit more, different, but now what I'm doing, I might not be earning as much, but I absolutely love what I do, and that's the reason why I'm doing it. So those sorts of things, I think the Wildlife Trusts in particular, with trying to make those residential type placements and those traineeships available are really a way to help you get through that financial commitment of doing a career change. And that's what's worked for me.
Amazing, thank you. And yeah, hopefully that really helps. Unfortunately, we have run out of time now. So thank you very much, everyone who's been here today and who's joined us online. Really appreciate you all joining us and, sharing your brilliant experiences, sharing your about everything as well. So a massive thank you to you all. Equally, thank you everyone for joining us online as well. Come and watch us. It's been really appreciated. Hopefully you've got some really great stuff out of today, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much, everyone.